Chapter 1. Stolen memories crawled through Cyrilla's mind, distorting the gale-whipped trees around her. Past fought with present, until gone was the heavy drumming of rain on her skin. Forgotten was the fresh scent of the autumn downpour. The road cutting between the gnarled trunks of the deadwood forest disappeared, as did the stationary wagon and the attached mule as it stomped uneasily in the muddy puddles. Even Cyrilla's brother and the threat of the pursuing soldiers slipped away. But that was the trouble with stolen memories. You could never trust them once they were yours. She no longer stood in a forest. Instead, sand from the eastern plains lashed at her skin as drought-embattled grasses wafted in a warm breeze that lingered after sunset. The tang of summer filled her nostrils, so real she could have sworn she breathed it in. The dry, aching thirst attacked her throat, and she fought to push the memory down. She needed to remember where she was. She knew it was important, even though she couldn't remember why. Another memory sprang up in the place of the eastern one. Cold, fireside flames silently licked the air, but no heat caressed her skin. The creator had neglected to pay attention to the crackle of the logs or the touch of the heat. Push it down. She needed to focus on the present. She had been in a forest, hadn't she? Either her control was slipping, or the memories were too numerous to restrain any more. She had known it would happen one day, just like it had to her mother. Some nights she dreamt of burrowing her nails into her skin and drawing the memories out. She would pull until she was free, then cast them into the fire to be sure their corruption couldn't spread. Already they wormed so deeply inside her that there were days she couldn't even remember who she was upon waking. Focus, Cyrilla. The wagon, Ryson, the trees. The memories faded, and she fought to hold on to the image of the dark-haired man climbing down from the wagon. He greeted her brother pleasantly, but something didn't feel right. It was the present, wasn't it? She turned about, searching for the telltale signs of a memory. Empty grey spaces of missing details the creator hadn't noticed, missing senses that made an imperfect but beautiful whole, each neglected by everyone in a different way. But there was nothing. No imperfections, no lies. It was the present, not the past. Trees, mule, wagon. Her brother removing his glove, revealing the black tips of his fingers. Real, it was real, present not past. Ryson clapped his hand to the back of the wagon driver's neck. But Ryson wouldn't do that. He knew the risks. There were soldiers everywhere in the Deadwood. He wouldn't do anything to draw the army's attention their way. The stranger's face blanked. Black rippled across the back of Ryson's hand as vine-like marks snaked up his fingers, spreading a little more with each memory he stole. His eyes flickered as the bumps of his pupils moved under his lids, his mind scouring the stranger's memories. Present, not past. Ryson, don't! You want to spend another night in the rain. I'm sick of all your complaining. More memories flooded her. The press of plush down, the soft caress of smooth sheets. They were her own memories this time, though she wished they weren't since they made her miss the palace. She pushed them down, wishing she could forget them entirely. Only idiots sleep well with an army of soldiers after them, she said, managing to get the memories under control. The forest reformed about her, and something moved behind the wagon. Her gaze locked in the fright-wide eyes peering out, and cold flooded through her. There was a witness to Ryson's crime. Moving silently so as not to alert her brother, she sidestepped the puddles, manoeuvring so her body blocked the boy from view. If Ryson saw him, she couldn't let that happen. The boy was barely old enough to even know who he was. If Ryson took his memories, then it could mess him up for the rest of his life. She had seen it happen enough with the adults she stole from. There was no telling what damage having your memories taken would cause you if you were a child. Ry, she said, holding a finger to her lips and motioning for the boy to stay quiet behind her. We need to go. We can't linger here. Not yet, Ryson said, his eyes still shut as he shifted through his victim's memories. He's got a surprising amount in the old noggin. I don't care. We need to get out of here before anyone sees. He's got loads of use in here. He even knows how to start a fire. I'll give you the memory. I've enough already. I don't need his too. Didn't he realize how bad the memories were getting for her already? Each one made it harder to fight through to the present. She used to know what each contained when there were only a handful beside her own, but it had been easier back then. Now they were a forest of vines she didn't even know where to begin pruning. So much knowledge filled her body that finding anything of use was quickly becoming as difficult as finding a lost grain of sand in the desert. Perhaps she already knew how to start a fire and could have saved them from 3 cold nights in the forest, but she hadn't even tried examining the memories to find out. It was hard enough keeping her mind clear as it was. If she delved any deeper, she worried she wouldn't be able to break free again.
"Suit yourself,"
Ryson said, "though don't be complaining to me when—" His hand stilled on the back of the man's neck. "Rye? He's not here alone."
Denial rose up her throat. It was on her lips, but what was the point? He had already seen the truth in the man's memories. Ryson's eyes opened and he turned, staring at where the boy hid behind her.
"It's Callan, right?"
he asked, raising his voice so it rang through the trees.
"You help your father out, don't you? I see you went for a kip in the back. You must have been tired. You've been on the road since before dawn. Look, your father's tired too. Why don't you come over here and help me get him back atop the wagon?" "Rye, stop it. Let's just go." "We can't leave. He's seen us. We've at least got to clear the last few memories. He's just a child. I mean it. Leave him be. He's already frightened out of his mind, and I can take that from him. Be serious, Sari. We can't leave him with the memories. He'll alert the soldiers." "He'll have to find them first. Please, let's just get away from here."
Ryson glared at her for a moment longer, then sighed.
"Fine. Hey, kid." The boy flinched. He looked ready to race into the forest, eager to exchange the threat of Cyrilla and Ryson for the dangers awaiting those who ventured off the road. "Look, we're going now," Ryson called. "And your father's still alive. Try to remember that when you're setting the soldiers after us, all right? I could have killed you both." "Ryson!" All right.
He shut his eyes, the black marks on his hands rippling one last time as the creeping invasion reversed. He released his victim, and the man dropped, his eyes glazing over with the usual black haze of an overloaded mind. Which memories had Ryson given him? They had to be ones he didn't mind handing over to the imperfect care of an imperfect mind. Probably those of someone else he had stolen from, some other inconsequential victim. The gods knew he would never hand over his own. Grabbing his arm, she pulled him away, muttering under her breath as she picked a path along the muddy road. Out of both of her siblings, she loved and despaired of Ryson the most. At least their sister wasn't old enough yet to know better when it came to crossing the line. Ryson should have figured it out years ago.
Her footsteps squelched as she trod the thick mud coating the road. Her ruined footwear held almost as much inside as clung to the exterior, and the dull throbbing in her feet pounded with every step, making her glad it was too dark to inspect the damage.
Light glimmered through the rain up ahead, signalling the presence of something other than trees for once.
"Is that a town?" "Don't even think it. There'll be too many people." "Just a quick stop. We can wait out the rain." "It's been raining for 3 days. Then it should finish soon."
She raised an eyebrow and cast a quick, sceptical glance skyward to the rolling grey above.
"Does it look like Curson's going to stop pissing on us any time soon?"
she asked.
"Please. My feet are about to rot off. I'm so cold I'm shaking, and I've been walking funny this past day from chafing."
Ryson's forehead crumpled as he pleaded. She stared at the short black locks above. He looked almost normal. Until a few days ago, his hair had hung down to his eyebrows, but the white tips had been too distinctive, and she'd been forced to cut it since it would have got them caught otherwise. A memory from before she hacked away at the black roots filled her mind. It was one of Ryson laughing, his jaw-length hair flickering in a white swarm as he threw his head back with mirth. He hadn't laughed like that in a while. The memory faded, and the Ryson of the past was replaced with the far wetter version standing before her. His good humour was lost, along with the white parts of his hair. Instead, rain trickled down his forehead, dripping from the locks licked together by the water. He swiped them aside, blinking the worst of the downpour from his vision.
"Fine. An hour, mind. No more. We can't afford to linger."
He hurried in the direction of the town before she could change her mind. Rainwater poured from the thatched roofs, pooling between the cobbles paving the streets. Laughter burst out the tavern nearby as the door swung open. Heat blasted her, but she was so cold she barely felt it. It would take days to dry off. Rain soaked her dress, making the garment cling heavily to her, the fabric so tight that it was likely never coming off again. The wind and rain continued to batter the windows, but she relished the sound since it signalled that, for the first time in days, it wasn't coming down on her. She was out of the forest. She wasn't being pissed on by the gods. Her enjoyment fled at the sight of the soldiers lounging inside the tavern. The small room was almost bursting from how many people were crammed inside. This couldn't be happening. Curson couldn't hate them that much. Turning to suggest they find somewhere else to spend the night, she stilled as Ryson brushed past her, weaving his way through the room and dodging soldiers and stools alike. When he reached an empty table, he sat, looking back at her, frowning as he spotted her in the doorway. Reckless idiot.
In or out?
A voice asked, dragging her attention from Ryson to the mean-looking man glaring up at her and gesturing to the open doorway.
Good question,
she murmured, stealing another glance about the room.
Then shut the damn door while you ponder it.
He shoved her aside, putting an end to the draft. She tensed as his arm brushed hers. Too close.
Memories surged through her own this time, each filled with the heady rush that came from delving into another's mind. Temptation taunted her, goading her to reach out and touch the man's skin, to make the connection and let her mind... No, she couldn't. She had promised herself she wouldn't. Not again. Muttering under her breath, she made her way over to Ryson, all too aware of the many eyes following her as she passed between the soldiers, expecting any one of them to grab her at any moment, having figured out that the fugitives they searched the deadwood for were hiding in their midst.